Everywhere you go, people seem to be throwing around this word toxic. You're toxic. Stop being so toxic. It almost becomes like a self-defense mechanism to bail you out for anything that you might have done anytime you get criticism. Okay, so let's analyze what is toxicity. I'm a very big fan of linguistics, actually, and you know when people say like you're arguing semantics, I actually don't mind arguing semantics because I think defining your terms before getting into a debate is crucial. You could be debating something and you guys have different terms for the same shit, and it just all goes wrong and goes south from there, and that makes zero sense to me. So, what does it mean to be toxic? Okay, so this is my definition of toxicity. Well, the general definition of toxicity is something being harmful, right? So what does it mean necessarily to be harmful? Everything to an extent is harmful, but there's percentages, okay? So something can be 51% harmful, 49% helpful, let's say. Overall, it's probably a bit of a wash. If it was like 60-40, 60% harmful, 40% helpful, it's probably more harm. It does more harm than good. You ever hear the phrase, it does more harm than good? So that's the idea of toxicity. If something does more harm than it does good, then it is toxic. It is poisonous. It is harmful, okay? And what you mean by harmful in the game of Counter-Strike is that when you're playing this game, it's a 5v5 game. When you become toxic, it starts to turn into a 4v6 because not only are you, a lot of times sports can be actually a struggle against oneself. It could be a struggle against one's own self-image, your confidence. Take a look at NIP or any team or any player that's gone in a slump. A lot of times it can be even against the enemy. The enemy can get in your head, like Happy likes to get in people's heads. Or JW, he likes to play a very aggressive style to the point where you lose all confidence. At a certain point, you have to understand that the game of Counter-Strike, especially when you look at players like JW or Happy making the plays that they do it based on, JW said this, he said, in my mind, I am the best player in Counter-Strike, and every time I go peek something or go like take a corner, I feel like I'm going to destroy the person that I'm peeking. They stand no chance against me, and I'm going to get the shot every single time. Michael Jordan said that every shot he took, he felt like that was going to be a swish, like no holds barred. Full confidence, 100% of the way in what they're doing when they do what they do. So when you hurt your teammates' confidence, it's a pretty big thing. If you're bringing the morale of the team down, that's a pretty big thing. But that doesn't necessarily mean that all criticism is toxic. In fact, criticism can be very good. There can be positive criticism. Criticism can lead a player to growth and to becoming a better Counter-Strike player. It could lead to improvements. I absolutely deplore the concept of like, oh yeah, you want to make this, like, let's say like a country or anything, an organization receives criticism. Well, if you don't like it, you can leave. All right, that's great. Like, how do you expect to get better? Why not have a progressive mind state? Why not try to improve things? Why not offer critiques? Then maybe we can say, maybe this isn't the best way of doing things. Maybe we could do things other ways. Maybe we can improve things in general. But it seems to me as if people don't look at it this way. And they have these defense mechanisms, these thinking errors of, oh, well, if you don't like it, then leave. Like, there's one or two options. Either accept things the way they are, never choose to improve them, be entirely conservative, never be progressive, never try to improve things, or reject it entirely. Okay, this is a false dichotomy, and I think it's very harmful to the concept or the notion of improvement or getting better as a player or as a team or as an organization or a business or a country. Now, if you look at Counter-Strike, and you look at criticisms, not all criticisms are harmful. A lot of criticisms can be positive, can be helpful. So if you're criticizing someone based on what they did, and it's actually would probably do a lot more good, or the way you're saying it, like you could even say things in a very irritated tone. For instance, there's that clip of Dazed telling AZK like what are you doing? Just, like, you have way better aim than all these guys. Just shoot them. Like you need to peek there. And people look at it and they're like, oh, Dazed is so toxic. And whether Dazed is or isn't toxic, like, I'm not going to go into that. But the idea behind that is, like, in reality, he's saying positive things. He's actually encouraging his teammate. He's saying that he can outshoot the players on Virtus Pro and that he should be taking those aim duels. He's trying to improve his morale, not hinder it. And then on top of that, there can be criticisms, like the criticisms that like any player might make to his teammate about just playing smarter. And the way they go about it might be difficult. Or even like in a pug, you could tell somebody like, you know, like, you should probably tap the bomb when you come in, you're trying to clutch, like a 1v1 situation, and you don't know where the guy is, instead of just running around aimlessly. And the way any player takes criticism in this game is so demonstrative of their lack of self-esteem. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. The second anything they do is criticized, the way they respond. And I feel like that's so indicative of how much time the game of Counter-Strike takes, personally, to play and to be good at. Because I legitimately feel like they're just never developed males and females who spent all their time playing Counter-Strike as opposed to actually, like, rounding out their emotional and social qualities, which is such, to me, a tragedy. Like, you have all these intelligent, logical, smart people who maybe forwent school, forwent higher education, forwent going out and socializing and getting involved with people, or doing various activities, or having a variety in their life, or maybe even meeting a great deal of people, learning how to deal with criticism, learning how to deal with adversity, learning how to deal with challenges in ways other than just lashing out. But anytime you criticize somebody in this game, like in a pug or anything, people just absolutely lash. They just shut down entirely. They lash out. And I think, honestly, my view is it's more of a it's more of a shame that these players react this way to the stimulant of criticism than the stimulant of criticism itself. I think the way people react to what they might incorrectly term toxicity is way worse than any criticism that, you know, maybe is like a 60-40, which is like the worst it should get. So 60-40, you're like, dude, you're a fucking idiot. What the fuck are you doing? Just play the fucking bomb. I never want to see you. And so many players have stated to me over the years, 1.6 players especially, and Source players, like, that's how I learned. Like, I would make mistakes and I would do dumb things, man. You have no idea. And the people who taught me the game, like, they just went in on me so hard to make sure that I would never make that mistake again, because I had all the skill that it took to be a good player, and I just wasn't making the right decisions. And making the right decisions, a lot of times it's more about discipline than it is about knowing what decision to make. You can know what the right play is, but just not have the discipline to do it for one reason or another, or just feel like taking a risk or anything like that. And really, good decision making tends to be a discipline over time, whether we're looking at life or business practices or Counter-Strike. Good decision making is a discipline. It's about a consistency of you're consistently making these good decisions all the time, and you're not playing so undisciplined. And the more disciplined you are as a team or as a unit or as a business or as an individual, the more you can live day by day by day making good decisions, or, you know, round by round by round making good decisions, even as a team. And a lot of people will criticize just so people get it through their fucking skulls. And this is viewed as toxicity. But the biggest issue that I have with anybody calling things just toxic is, like, you're misappropriating the word. You're taking a word that should have a very set meaning, and you're exploiting that word and the way people react to that word. Like, oh, well, you're being toxic. Like, so that you can avoid all responsibility and accountability for the criticisms laid past you. Like people would criticize me for, like, a decision I made in the past, for instance, and I'd be like, stop being toxic, mate. You're toxic. You're toxic bringing that up. And it's like, yeah, well, like, fucking deal with it. Deal with the criticism, own up to it, be accountable, and fucking answer to it.